Okay, here's a few observations on St. Thomas Aquinas' view of human nature. So of all the great works of Aquinas, the magnum opus, as it's come to be called, is called the Summa Theologica. And I referred to that book already. It's this incredible, well, summa means everything. So it's an incredible vision that fits together perfectly and logically of the whole of reality, including God, creatures, human nature, knowledge, everything. And it has a particular structure that became synonymous with the scholasticism, and the language is called scholasticism. Basically, it's the language of Aristotle, only baptized into Christian theology. So the part that of the Summa that deals explicitly on human nature is sections 75 to 89 of part 1. And it came to be known as the Treatise on Man, or the Treatise on Human Nature. So you can study those and glean from that Aquinas' most essential observations about human nature. One way of going about it is to think about his view of human nature with respect to those beings that are above humans and below humans, namely the angels and the animal kingdom, the non-human animals. So at the summit of creation are the angels. And then, of course, beyond creation is the Creator. So angels for Aquinas are incorporeal. They have no bodies. That's why, have you ever heard that little saying that that riddle, how many angels can you put at the head of a needle? And the answer is all of them, because they have no bodies. They don't take up space. So angels are incorporeal and immutable. That is, they don't change. So not all creation are a compound of matter and form. Matter being the corporeal part of us, of things, and form being the soul. Yet, since angels are creatures, they're not simple. There's a compound there. So it's a strange kind of compound. Angels are closest to God, and as such, they have the greatest perfection compatible with the state of creatures. Since simplicity, that is, not having any parts, accompanies perfection, angels must therefore be conceived of as being as simple as is possible for a creature to be, and yet not be pure simplicity as God is. This angelic simplicity, then, cannot be total, for if angels were absolutely simple and free from all composition, they would be this pure act of being, the esse, the to be. That is, they would be God. Since the angels have received existence from God, they are therefore, like all creatures, composed of essence on the one hand and existence on the other. Only God, for Aquinas, has his existence as his essence. So this composition then, this angelic composition, is enough to place them infinitely below God, since God is pure simplicity, whose essence is existence itself. Yet angels have no bodies, no matter. Therefore, there's no principle of individuation. Now here's the strange thing about Aquinas' view of angels. Angels are a species, like different species of the animal kingdom. Each angel is a species. not an individual forming by himself alone an irreducible degree in his descending scale that leads to the body. That is, each angel receives from the immediately superior angel a parcel of the divine light, and each then adapts this illumination by dimming it or breaking it up to a certain degree. So in this downgrade hierarchy, the appearance of humans, and consequently of matter, marks a characteristic degree. Okay. Man still belongs to the series of immaterial beings, but only insofar as we are a soul, a form. But our soul is not pure intelligence as the angels are. So the angels are like pure emanations of God, like pure intelligence, pure love, pure compassion, and so on. Human souls have an intellect which can know a certain type of intelligibility, but our souls are not pure intelligences like the angels, because it's the actualization of a capacity, a form of the body. So what Aquinas is doing is taking Aristotle's view of the soul. For Aristotle, the soul is the first entelechy of a natural body with the potentiality for life. In other words, the soul is what gives life to natural bodies with organs. Without the soul, none of those organs can do what they can do. And telechy means the enactment of the telos, of the teli, of all the purposes and organs of the human. Every organ has a purpose, like the ears have the purpose to hear, the eyes to see, and so on. So when the soul is there, it takes that potentiality to hear, to see, to smell, to taste, to think, and actualizes that. So by taking potentiality and actualizing it, it gives life. That's Aristotle's conception of the soul in general. And then he has three souls, as we talked about: the vegetative soul, the animal soul, and the human soul. But the human soul, for Aquinas, is a compound of matter and form, of potentiality and actuality. The intelligence of man is what sets us above all the other animal creatures. So that's the famous definition from Aristotle that Aquinas inherits, that man is the animale razionale, the animal with reason. So he's thinking very deeply about the positioning of man in this hierarchy, from the creator, the angels, then humans, and then the animal kingdom, plant kingdom, inorganic substance, all the way down to demonic substance. So he's thinking about the limits between the angelic and the animal, and demarcating out this sphere, which is the human. So in one sense, Aquinas' doctrine of human nature complicates the structure of humanity, but in another sense, it simplifies it. So in what sense does it complicate it, and in what sense does it simplify? Well, it complicates it because in humans, unlike the angels, we have both a soul and a body. So he associates soul with the form, the formal cause of life. And the body is the matter, the material side. So this is true of all living corporeal beings. So because we have a soul, the human intellect makes matter become that of a human body. Thus, the highest capacity in the human, which he calls active intellect makes human beings what we are. It determines our essence as the animale razionale, the rational animal. So our genus is animal, and our species is that we have reason. But since humans are created beings, there is in humans a composition of essence and existence. But it is through the form, that is through the soul, that existence comes to all capacities of the human body. So the soul is what allows potentiality to become actual. And in bringing actuality to potentiality, it gives life. So it's by virtue of the soul that existence, that human existence, is a part of man's nature. However, in order to give this existence, the soul must first receive the actualizing power from this pure act of being. And this is what sets Aquinas apart from Aristotle. For Aquinas, in order for the soul to give life to a body by bringing potentiality to actuality, it has to receive this actualizing power from the pure act of being, which is Aquinas' notion of God. It has to receive it from the to be, which is what God is. So for this reason, St. Thomas Aquinas' conception of humans is a complex one. Each corporeal being, including man, is the seat of a twofold composition. We have matter and form, namely the body and soul, and secondly, a twofold bifurcation of essence and existence. But this existence is nothing other than the pure act of being, or God. So in this structure, esse, E-S-S-E, the act of being, or what I'm calling the to be, is the keystone of the whole of Aquinas' notion of human nature. It is the act of even the form, which is the human soul. Thus, it is what he calls the act of acts and the perfection of all formal perfections. Nonetheless, at the same time that Thomas was complicating finite being, the nature of mortals, he was also simplifying it. In introducing the notion of this act of being, Thomas was eliminating the plurality of forms in the composite from the act of being. Because the act of being is that which causes the human soul to realize all of the capacities of the human body. You just have this, the soul receiving the act of being from God, and that receptivity is what's vivifying it and allowing it to transform potentiality to actuality. As soon as Thomas posited esse, or the act of being, as the form of the inner reality of all formal realizations, it becomes possible and even necessary to realize that this act of being, this to be, is that which holds together the plurality of forms and orders them from lower beings to higher beings. With Aristotle, only impersonal nous, or mind, nous is the Greek word for mind, only impersonal nous can survive the death of the body. Because for Aristotle, only nous is completely independent of the body. So when the body dies, nous can live beyond the body. What's immortal for Aristotle, about the human soul is intellect, and in a universal sense. There's no personal immortality for Aristotle. But with Aquinas, you have personal immortality. With St. Thomas Aquinas, since he posited esse, that is, this act of being, as the form of the inner reality of the realization of human capacities, and this act or of form, this inner reality, is individual and unique to each human soul. On Aquinas' view, then, the individual intellect, the personal intellect, still remains a substance after the death of the body, but a substance not as matter and form, which is impossible, but as an individual intelligence, as an essence. And its act of being, its communion with this act of being, which is God. So, when all is said and done, he brings reason to illuminate faith, and we have the Catholic image of man as mortal, who comes to his animal nature, but is eternal insofar as he or she is in union with God when it comes to their personal intellect. So, in summary, then, these are just some observations. There's so much more to Aquinas' view of humans. And again, I direct you to section 75 of 89 and 80, 75 to 89 of part 1 of the Summa. And if you're serious about gleaning his notion of human nature, that's the place to start. But what I've said so far is accurate, and it gets you some indication of his notion of humanity. So we've seen that for St. Thomas Aquinas, human beings are the first eruption of the compound of ensouled matter on the descending scale of angelic intelligences. We saw that for Thomas, man is a compound of form, which is soul, and matter, which is the body, in the Aristotelian sense of the soul as the first entelechy of a natural body with the potentiality for life. In addition to this, however, humans, for Aquinas, is a compound of essence, which is his capacity to have passive and active intelligence, and existence, which is the actualization of all the capacities. And so man is a compound of form and matter, as well as a compound of essence and existence. This, we saw, is the complex nature of humans. But we also saw that man has a simple nature, and that at the very core of his soul, there resides a reality which allows the soul, and the key word is allows the soul, to realize its capacities, and hence makes possible the essence of man, his capacity for thought, as well as makes possible the existence of man, that is, makes possible human existence. And what is this reality? Well, we said already, it's none other than this pure act of being, this to be, esse in Latin. In a word, God. So in order that the soul be able to make actual certain potentialities, it must itself be given this actualizing power. It must receive it. The source of the actualizing power of the soul is the source of all the power of all abilities. In order for something to be able to do something, it must receive its ability from the very act of being, from the to be. Thus, just as the soul causes life in the body by being the efficient, the teleological, and the formal cause of life in a natural body, so too the to be, that is God, allows the soul to be able to realize the potential life in a living being. And so to be is the divine in human. It is his simple nature, in addition to the complex nature that we've just specified. Nonetheless, this divine in man does not, in Thomas, take the form of a proof. The 5 proofs that we considered are other than this. Those are proofs for the reality of God. It is only an assertion of the simple divine nature at the core of man's soul. So those are some observations. I believe they're all correct, but as I said earlier, there's a lot more to Aquinas' view of humans than that. But that's enough to get you started and to send you into an inquiry into the Middle Ages, that mysterious time. So I hope that helps, and carry on.